Hello everyone, this is Caleb Simpson here from ZeldaDungeon.net, and you are watching my video walkthrough for The Legend of Zelda Phantom Hourglass for the Nintendo DS. This video is a little odd because it kind of depends on what order of events you did it in. Phantom Hourglass is actually sort of flexible for the last parts of the game, so what I'm doing is I'm actually doing the traditional order of events. So now that we've completed the Goron Temple and the Temple of Ice, and thus gotten the bomb shoes and the grappling hook respectively, we now have more things that we can do in the Temple of the Ocean King, and it also makes the final floors a lot easier. So now, in the last time that we were here in the Temple of the Ocean King, I mentioned that you could have gotten the Southeastern Sea Chart and the Northeastern Sea Chart at the same time. Now, I only got that first one, but you could have technically dived even deeper and gotten the other one. It would have been pretty difficult, but you could have done it, and then you could have gone to the last 3 dungeons of the game all at the same time. Now, traditionally, though, a lot of people just get the one sea chart and then they move on and then they come back here. And one of the incentives for doing that is so you can do this. When you come to this first floor right here, you can use the grappling hook across this gap and you can hit the eye switch to create a chest in the corner. This contains one of the courage gems. Now, by coming back here with the bomb shoes and the grappling hook, it allows you to get some various gems of all 3 types, so courage, wisdom, and power. So if you're wanting to upgrade your spirits in particular, it is very important to try and come back to the Temple of the Ocean King so that you can get all those things. As long as you're getting the sea chart anyway, you can go ahead and get the gems so that you can upgrade those spirits. Otherwise, the only time you can do it is literally right before the last boss if you don't return here. So that's kind of the weird thing. So it's a trade-off. If you want to do the Temple of the Ocean King harder, you could have done it earlier and gotten the sea charts and then gone straight to doing all 3 of the last dungeons of the game. Otherwise, you can do 1 sea chart and do 2 dungeons, then Temple of the Ocean King, then the final dungeon, then come back to the Temple of the Ocean King. So, kind of depends on your order of events. So, meanwhile, the things that have been happening on screen, you can shoot the Swift Phantoms with arrows to stun them. It makes them a little bit easier. Grab that Scourge Gem in the corner, then blow up the cracked blocks, get the key, come back to the door. So many steps on this next floor. There's just like so many things we can do now that we have a lot of items. Blow up the wall to the bottom right, then hit the crystal switches and pull the lever once the phantom is out of the way. You can also stun that phantom with arrows when it's turned the wrong way, and that's another way you can get through this too. You want to smack the other switch. This will make a key fall to the right, and I will get that in just a moment. But now that the flames are down, we can head over to the left first, and this is a better, more efficient way to do this. So go ahead and blow up this wall as well. This will allow you to reach the yellow jar that has 30 seconds in it. And you'll notice we have a hole here we can use a bomb shoe with. However, you want to wait for the spiky roller to be on the far left. So do that, then use the bomb shoe through the hole to hit the crystal switch. This will create a chest to the far right that has a wisdom gem. So go grab that. And you can also use these red jars, and there's a bunch of different places you could put them, but since we're not going to the south side at all, it's actually more beneficial to use it up here. You can throw it up here on this side because there's also a safe zone down here. I was bringing it just in case, just to show that I could use it next to the phantom. Something else I want to point out though is this phantom does actually see the key and goes and picks it up. Now this is not really the end of the world. You can get it a variety of different ways, smacking it with your sword, using the boomerang, but the best way by far is actually to use the bow because it stuns it and this allows you to pick it up very safely. I actually think this mechanic is kind of interesting because it means that if there is a spot where you can get a key that you normally wouldn't be able to get to unless you solve a puzzle, you could technically like lure a phantom over there and trick it into picking up the key so that you don't have to solve the puzzle. I can't think off the top of my head of any point where this is actually like super useful per se, like for speedrunning or anything, but it is an interesting mechanic just to point out. Now that we have the grappling hook, we can actually just skip this floor entirely. However, there is several useful things that you can grab. Continue on to the right, and there's actually these cracked blocks you can use here, so blow them up to get the yellow jar, and then continue on to the south, and we don't actually have to lower the spikes at all, but you might as well as long as we're waiting here. But you'll notice this phantom is coming this way. Now, normally you would make him fall down the hole, but we do have the bow, so just hop down, shoot him in the back, and this allows you to get a key. Now, normally this key is used to open the locked door to the bottom left, but we don't need to do that because we don't need the force gems. So this just gives us a free key that we can use on a later floor, and it's very easy to get, so I'd highly recommend you grab that. Continue on to the top left, smack the yellow jar to get even more time, and you can use the grappling hook between these 2 torches to make a shortcut to get up into this other room. Make sure you grab the yellow jar here in this corner as well, and we have a lot of time at this point. You'll notice I'm completely full actually. Continue on to the top right to go down the stairs and continue onward. So on this floor, go ahead and shoot the eye switch in the corner with an arrow, and this will put out all the air geyser dealios. Continue on to the left, and there's a phantom eye here. I was trying to be really careful. I thought I got seen, but I did not. It was actually ended up being okay, but I panicked and ran. But it turned out okay, so go ahead and kill the phantom eye. I really like to put this red jar here in the middle, and it allows me to stand there and use bomb shoes without having to worry about wasting time. So go ahead and do that and hit both of the crystal switches. There's one to the south. This one is in that little area, so you don't actually have to use bombs on the southern side because that's a little more dangerous because the phantom's phantoms nearby. But instead, you can actually just stand up here and use bomb shoes, but also you can use it to the north to make a shortcut to this locked door, which is really sweet. Now, in order to get a key for that, though, too, we did just unlock a key in this room, and you could technically use the key instead that we grabbed one floor down that I told you to get. But I'd recommend you save that instead, because this key is also very easy to get. So grab that one, and then continue on to the door to the top left. Now, one other thing you can do real quick before you leave, there is actually a yellow jar on the left side of the room. Technically, you get to it from the far bottom left corner, but you can get to that jar as well as the one in the far bottom right corner. Now, I did only get the bottom left one. I actually forgot about the bottom right one in this particular recording, and I also am very bad at aiming the boomerang, apparently. So go ahead and smack that Phantom Eye and work your way up here. This one you have to use the shovel in the soft soil, and then smack the yellow jar from around the corner. Now, I could have gone to the bottom right. I think in the recording I forgot about it, but otherwise, I'm also really full on time. I only have 21 minutes total right now anyway, so I'm doing pretty good on time. I'm not worried about it at all. So on this floor, you want to dig up the soft soil here to reveal an air geyser, then smack this crystal switch to make the wind dealio cancel for a moment, and then you can open the chest to get a treasure map. Go ahead and hop back up into the air geyser to get back up to the crystal switch to reactivate the gust of wind so that you can run with it to jump across the gap. Now, one other thing that I did not do on this floor is actually off to the far right, I could shoot an arrow into the crystal switch in the far distance, and it makes a chest appear as well as puts out that air geyser, and it allows us to get either a red potion or 100 rupees. So that's something you could do real quick. I did not do that at the time, but that would, be a nice beneficial thing. There is a yellow jar you can get on this room. I don't really think it's worth it. Now, one thing you can do, though, is you can draw the Phantom Hourglass symbol first, and this allows you to go into this floor temporarily and grab the yellow jar from here. Now, this is very easy, and it doesn't take much effort at all, and then you can just go back out and this time draw the Triforce symbol instead in order to progress to the next floor. Alright, so now that we have gone through these earlier floors, we've gotten all of the gems and everything. The only thing remaining on those floors is just treasure chests that contain treasure, basically, at this point. And that will make more sense later, and so we will come back here later and I'll show how to do that, but it isn't really necessary. At this point, it's pretty much from this floor onward is pretty much where you want to go, and so I will actually step into this portal here just to save my time, because it's a little bit faster than the last time I was here. You do not want to teleport away, though, because we got that extra key, which was awesome, and we're going to use that later on, or you can, optionally. I'm not actually going to. I'm going to show how to do everything, so that, and you can pick and choose, though, for you watching. If there's a particular puzzle that you're like, oh man, that's obnoxious, I don't want to get that key, we have this extra one, so you don't need to go out of your way to gather everything, because you can skip some stuff now that we have that key. So one fun thing you can do at this point is you can actually use the grapple on the chest off to the right. This saves you quite a bit of time, so you don't have to run all the way around. But go ahead and open the chest to get the circle crystal. So go ahead and toss that down, get the yellow jar's worth of time, and then grab the circle crystal and wait for this platform. Now you could technically use the locked door in the top right corner and use that key there to save a little bit of time, but it honestly doesn't save that much. Like, you can go to the door in the bottom, and that will actually accomplish a lot of the same things. So I'm actually going to do that. I'm going to wait for this phantom to pass by. I could have hung out in that safe zone a little bit longer, I guess, but continue on to there, and I'm going to work my way to the door in the bottom right corner, and that will actually we'll get to that floor at the same time anyways, because the circle crystal instead you just need to bring to the far top left once we get down on this floor anyways, because we need it to get to the triangle crystal anyway. So going through that shortcut in the top right doesn't really save you much time. Like, you go through there and then great, you have to go to the bottom left corner of this floor anyways. So I'm not really sure why they even have that as an option, but by not taking that door, we actually save a key, and it's not really that far out of our way to do it this way anyway. Alright, I'm going to do things in a little bit of a funky order just to show a more complex way of doing things that can save a little bit of time. So place the circle crystal, this will lower the spikes, then step on the switch to create an air geyser, and now we don't actually have a need for the circle crystal to be there. So pick it up, take it over here to the left as long as we're here anyways, just to be all efficient, and then step into the air geyser. This allows us to get up here. Just want to make sure you only do this if the swift phantoms are off to the far right. But go ahead and use the boomerang on the yellow jar to get some extra time. And I'm going to go ahead and place the circle crystal down a floor real quick, and this will get it out of the way. Now, you don't want to do this if you have not gotten the gem on the invisible platform yet, but I already did that the last time we were here. Instead of grabbing the triangle crystal, though, I'm actually going to leave it there, and at this point, I'm actually kind of just waiting in the safe zone. I'm watching the phantom in the top right, and I'm waiting for him to go to the far top left. Once he's finally reached that location-ish, I'm going to go ahead and start running the other way around. And the other thing I'm trying to do is I'm trying to run over here, and I'm trying to not step on the waking water so I don't alert this phantom. But this way I haven't alerted anything, so that phantom in the top right is still moving nicely. So go ahead and go on top of this platform. You can hop down onto the invisible platform where this gem was, and then it's kind of like a square on the bottom, and then it's just a single path right in the middle there at the top. But run through here, and as long as the phantom isn't close, you're okay. Now you can go ahead and blow this up so you have a safe zone you can hang out in. And from here, you can actually use the, you can stun the phantom if you want to. This is a little trick. You can stun them in the back and then stab them off the edge, as long as they're stunned. So you just keep smacking them until they fall off, and that will kill the phantom, which is cool. Continue on to the far right, and now that we have bomb shoes, we don't actually need the triangle crystal to lower these spikes, because we can use bomb shoes to get through this little area instead. And I'm actually bringing a safe zone with me just to make this a little bit safer. But go ahead and use the bomb shoe to hit this crystal switch. This will actually open the door. So one weird comment to make about my order of events is just that when you place the circle crystal and the triangle crystal in their pedestals at the same time, that is how you make that chest over top of that invisible platform, and that is how you get that power gem. Now, I already did that in a previous video, so that's part of why I'm showing this order instead, but if you need to get that, that's how you do that. The order of events that I just did for the last couple of floors made it a little bit awkward if you were trying to get that power gem, so you'd have to do some backtracking if you were following along with me, but you can adapt it a little bit and it would work out fine. And somehow I managed to get this Wizrobe to die so that his time ended up in the wall, which is obnoxious. You can activate this eye switch if you want to. This is optional. This will allow you to kill the phantom, which is not required. However, whenever you kill a phantom on the floor, all the phantoms, it will create a chest. So because this is the only phantom on this floor, it's very easy to get this one. So I would recommend that you still do this. So hit the eye switch. This will lower the spikes, which allows us to create this little trap so we can kill the phantoms. And once again, I attacked another Wizrobe, and its time landed on the wall, which it's trolling me or something. But go ahead and kill this phantom. This will create a chest that leads to a ship part. Now, unfortunately, it was just a low-tiered ship part for me, but it could be worth more for you. But I would still recommend you do it. I mean, it's free money, and it's easy, and it makes it so you don't have to deal with that phantom at all. So you don't have to kill the, you don't have to smack it with an arrow to get the gem if you're going to kill it instead. Whatever you want to do. So with all that stuff in hand, you can head to the top left corner and place the square crystal in the pedestal to put out the flames. This will gain us access to those other two crystals that I left in that corner, and I never even took the triangle crystal out of the chest yet. Normally you would bring it to lower the spikes one floor up, but we didn't have to do that. So that's all great, and everything's wonderful. It is kind of interesting that, once you get to this point, you realize you don't actually need the triangle crystal for anything if you have bomb shoes, so it's kind of cool. It just makes this whole puzzle a little bit faster. Now, as I was saying before, the method I just used made it a little bit difficult to get the power gem that is on that invisible platform, but I already got that in a previous video, so I'm not even going to bother with that. But how you do that is you place both the triangle crystal and the circle crystal in their pedestals at the same time. Anyways, I'm going to go ahead and bring all the crystals over here to the exit area. And one thing I did, I was kind of silly at the time. I guess I was just stuck in the thought of it had to be just like that previous floor where I opened the door with the Phantom Hourglass symbol to get the time. I was like, oh, I'm going to use the wrong order on purpose. Then I'll just use the secret order to progress the dungeon, and I'll do it like that. And that way I don't miss out on the 30 seconds in that room. However, I was mistaken because I was just confused. I thought I was going to a different location or something. But because even if you do the secret order, it still takes you to that room. So you can still totally get that yellow jar every time. So that all being said, there's no reason not to use the secret order every time you come here. So I would just do that. Alright, so we are finally ready to progress to the final floors of the Temple of the Ocean King. Now that we have more items and stuff, we can end more time in our hourglass. It'll make this a lot easier. Now, you could have technically gone here earlier, as I was explaining at the beginning of this video, and that would have worked, but it just would have been more difficult, and there's a lot of things that you couldn't have gotten, so now we can get more gems and stuff here too, because we have all these items. So this floor can be navigated without these items, it just makes it a lot easier. For example, as soon as you enter, you can use this bomb shoe while standing in the safe zone so you're not wasting time, and you can blow up this crystal switch on the other side of this wall. So go through the little hole and do that, and you might hit the phantom eye along the way, but it's not a big deal if that happens. You probably have way more bomb shoes than you're ever really going to use at this point. Swing over to the far left, stand on the platform, and push this boulder off to the south. This will destroy the phantom. This is a lot easier now that we have this spike wall gone, but you can totally do it before that too when the gold phantom patrols far enough to the north. Now, gold phantoms are a new type. They will actually teleport around the map if they hear you. So if anybody alerts them to your presence at all, they will actually teleport across immediately. Go to the far south, grab the small key, and grab this red jar if you would like to make a safe zone so that you can stand in here while you're using the bomb shoes. You don't have to, it just makes it a little bit nice, you're not wasting time. But go ahead and do that, and you might end up hitting one of these phantom eyes like I was explaining before, but just use another bomb shoe to hit the crystal switch, and this will lower more spikes. Next, you can use the grappling hook on the peg to the right, and just past that there is a suspicious looking wall. It has these railings on top of the walls next to it, but also the wall itself looks a little bit odd. It's discolored or whatever, so it's an indication that you can blow it up. So do so, then continue on to the right. There is this crystal switch which keeps these spikes pressed down permanently or whatever, so they don't keep popping out. They alternate back and forth, but we want to be able to run through here in case this phantom chases us. You can go ahead and use the boomerang on the yellow jar below. It only gives you 15 seconds, but every little bit helps. Now, next what I'm doing is I'm actually luring the gold phantom to the south because I want to sneak past it to the north, and how I did this is I just stunned it with the arrow, and then that way I was able to go past it. And bear in mind on these later floors that you also have waking water, and if you're running across them when you're standing too close to a phantom, you will alert them to your presence. Now in this case it was stunned, so it didn't matter too much, but I also don't have a lot of time. So I ran to the far north and stood on top of those pegs, used the grappling hooks to reach the high platform, and then pushed the boulder off while the phantom was still to the south. So this defeated it, and whenever you defeat all of the phantoms on a particular floor, it will create a chest, and the value of the contents of the chest is based on how deep into the Temple of the Ocean King you are. So because we're on some of the later floors, they actually contain some pretty rare ship parts, so they're worth quite a bit of money. Next, we're working our way through the inner rings of this room, and there's actually a red jar here too, and you can place it a bunch of different places. Initially, if you don't have bomb shoes, you can't lower these spikes early, so you might want to use the red jar out here, even though I realize there's a safe zone right on the other side of these spikes, but if the spikes are still up, then that might be an option so that you can have a nice place to go to, because the next closest safe zone is quite a far distance from here. So continue working your way through these inner rings. The innermost one actually leads to a floor switch that lowers the spikes on the left, and this is the only way to open up this one, but that also gives us access to the treasure chest, so you don't have to go the long way around. Once you defeat all the phantom eyes, it will create a chest up above, and I'll show how to get that in here in just a moment. Now this chest is the one that was unlocked when we defeated all the phantoms, and unfortunately this particular one only had 100 rupees. Boo. This air geyser can let you get the yellow jar off to the right, and now that we have the treasure chest that appeared because of the phantom eyes being defeated, you can stand on top of this peg to the far south and use your grappling hook to reach it. So the chests you get for phantoms will reappear, or they'll appear again if you come to these floors once more and defeat the phantoms again, but this chest is created by defeating the phantom eyes, so it just stays put, so after you've opened it, it'll be an open chest from now on. Now it's actually kind of cool, because what that means is it's a shortcut. So if you get the key, and then work your way to the left, kill that phantom, and then go to the far south and get on top of that peg, you can grapple to this chest and go straight to the locked door. So it's actually a pretty big shortcut, even though it might not seem like it. Alright, there's a ton of stuff to do on this floor. Now if you look off to the right, there's a set of stairs that is open. We can't actually do anything with that unless you have the hammer. So if you have that item, you can go there right now, and you can just skip most of this. If you don't have the hammer, you're going to have to work your way through this whole room, and the only reasons for doing that is just the first time because you don't have that item, or because you want to get the treasure for it. So for this first time, what we're going to do, first of all, is defeat all of the phantom eyes, and this will create a chest for us, but also it makes this floor easier. Then continue on to the top left, and there is a jar here, as well as a lever. There's stuff we need to do in each corner, and we'll do all of them in succession. Now, something you want to watch out for is this whole floor is just filled with waking water, so you want to be careful as you're walking around, because if you're too close to one of these phantoms, you will make them chase after you. The Fallen Adventurer here in the corner talks about regretting not using the D-pad to change items, and you can actually use the A, B buttons and all those too. I'm assuming this is referring to tapping the menu button and the item button in the far bottom right as well. I'm not sure. It is faster to just use those buttons on your D-pad, which I've been doing this entire game. So the far south requires a little bit of preparation. You want to go ahead and dig up the soft soil in the bottom left area, just next to that abyss, and then this will extend a bridge, and what we need to do is we actually were trying to kill the phantom eye off to the far right at first. Now I actually got seen by the phantoms along the way, which I wasn't really worried about it because I was on the way to a safe zone anyway. But you do want to make sure you get there before one of the phantom eyes will slow you down. So I realized something in this playthrough. I was thinking to myself that this would be a great opportunity to knock these gold phantoms into the abyss by luring them over with a red jar and then stabbing them into it, like stunning them with an arrow and then just stabbing them into the abyss. And that'd be a cool way of dealing with this room. Unfortunately, that doesn't work because all of the abysses on this floor have railings on them, so you can't actually push the phantoms into them. So I was really bummed once I figured that out. This next puzzle takes a little bit of prep, and the Fallen Adventure to the far right talks about it a little bit. There is a switch to the far bottom right that you can activate. Unfortunately, it only stays activated for a little bit, so you're going to have to time it. Now, to do this, you can use regular bombs, you can also use bomb shoes, and you can also use the boomerang. So if you stand as far away as you can and use a boomerang, that would also work for you. I'm going to use regular bombs, which is kind of the traditional way, but whatever you want to do, there's a variety of ways you can do this. If you want to blow that up, then this will extend a bridge off to the left. Now, this is timed, so we only have a little bit of time to do this. So go to the far bottom left, use the air geyser, then go on top of this platform as soon as possible and step on the floor switch. Now if you have time, you can actually go across the bridge again, but otherwise you can hop down to the south, get back in the air geyser, and now go over to the far right. This floor is actually a little bit safer than it may appear at first. You have these air geysers that you can dig up with your shovel, and as soon as you jump into them, then the phantoms will not be able to chase you. So even if they're running after you or whatever, as soon as you get into an air geyser, you're safe. So if you dig that guy up, then you can, there's actually a safe zone right here, basically. It still uses up time, but whatever. So this phantom actually started chasing after me because I was walking in the waking water, so I could have either run off to the far right to that safe zone, but I decided I really wanted to dig up this air geyser, so I stunned the phantom a couple times, and then continued on to the far right. This is the chest that I got from the phantom eyes that I defeated, so that just gave me a treasure. And then go ahead and pull the final switch. This will extend the bridge up above. You can actually be pretty risky with phantoms if you know how they work. So up ahead we have an air geyser, and the phantom cannot hurt me once I step into the air geyser, so I can just make a run for it. Even if he hears me on the waking water and he turns around and stuff like that, starts chasing after me, as soon as I get into the air geyser, I'm going to be okay. Now in this particular case, I was showing how to use the bow just in case, like a more traditional way of getting past the phantom. However, because that air geyser is right here, that's totally okay too for just walk into that. Now once you have stepped on all of the switches on all the upper platforms, this will open the door on the left. Now again, you don't need to do this if you can use the right door instead if you have the hammer. Now in this room, I like to prep it ahead of time, and so how I do this is, first of all, just lower the spikes so we can get through here and get the yellow jars. Now, we're going to kill all the phantom eyes because we don't want to deal with them, but also there is some red jars in this room. There's a couple different ones actually, but what I like to do is put at least one of them somewhere in the middle. Now the left side is easier, so I'm actually going to take that red jar and throw it in the middle. And this is because if any of the phantoms or phantom eyes see you, then you're going to have to make a run for one of the safe zones. But there's only safe zones on the left and right because that top middle one doesn't count because flames appear in front of it in case one of the phantoms are alerted to your presence. So I like to bring one of these jars over here. Make sure you just remember that this waking water will draw the attention of nearby phantoms. So I like to place a safe zone somewhere in here in the middle, so that way I have some place to run to, because I can always run to the top left, but having a safe zone in the middle means that I have a nice safe place I can go to. With all that taken care of, you can finally go to the top left. You want to open the chest here to get a force gem, and this will also create a phantom just below us. Now you can stun this dude with arrows, otherwise it will just slowly turn around clockwise, looking around the room, which actually makes it very easy to walk past. It is very slow, but I do like using the arrows for extra insurance. But continuing on through here, you'll notice that I got in the line of sight of the gold phantom, and we don't run very fast, so you pretty much have to throw down the force gem and make a run for one of the other safe zones. But fortunately, I made this force gem here in the middle, and that's why I did that. It makes this so much easier. So I'm going to go ahead and deposit this force gem, and then after that I actually got seen by the phantom on purpose because I was trying to get past it, and I didn't want to wait super long time. Otherwise I could have, I guess, shot it in the back with an arrow and just been really careful. I love making little safe zones. It's just such a nice way of dealing with phantoms. Continue on to the far right, kill the phantom eye along the way, and in this next area we have a whole bunch of waking water, and there's actually a shortcut you can create here to lower those spikes, so we have an easy access back to the middle, but it requires the hammer, and this dungeon is all just kind of weird. Like, the different things you can do is like heavily dependent on which items you brought, and because the last 3 dungeons can be done in a variety of different orders depending on what you did in the game, it changes which puzzles are available at this point, so it's kind of weird. We don't actually currently have the hammer in this particular video, but that is an option for this part of the Temple of the Ocean King, depending on what you did. Now getting this force gem actually creates a swift phantom. This one actually just rotates around the map counterclockwise around this waking water area, and you can either shoot it in the back with an arrow, you can just follow behind it, and then once it gets to the bottom right, then you can just sneak to the bottom right behind it, or you can make a run for the safe zone, and if it sees you, this is a nice way to take care of that. I do recommend that you make this safe zone ahead of time so you have some place to run to. Remember though too that when you're holding a force gem, you don't actually make any noise when running on the... you run as fast as you can. Because you're moving slower, you don't actually make any noise on the waking water, which is kind of nice. Now once again in the middle, I do recommend you have at least one safe zone in the middle, just in general, because you want someplace to run to. And here I'm being extra careful to kind of follow behind the gold phantom so that I don't alert it. The floor switch in the bottom left will lower the spikes, which allows you to have access to the safe zone in the bottom left, which, if you're having trouble running away from the phantoms, that could be a nice way that you can get there, because if the phantom in the middle sees you, then the phantom in the top left will chase after you too, so you can't make a run to the top left safe zone very easily. So having the safe zone in the middle is significantly easier, but that whole bottom left route is another way to get away from that phantom too. To get the final force gem, you want to shoot the middle phantom in the back and then bring its force gem to the top. Now I guess technically a more difficult way of doing this too is you could lure that gold phantom over to the red jar safe zone that you created, and then once it's standing right next to it, you can wait till it turns its back and then smack it in the back with your sword or the boomerang, and it will drop the force gem. Unfortunately, unlike keys, you can't pick up force gems with your boomerang, so you'd have to actually physically tap on it and pick it up with your body. Now, unfortunately, if the force gem falls like a little bit out of the safe zone, then it might take a second and the gold phantom could turn around and smack you. So this is definitely more risky to do it that way, so the bow is definitely superior. So once you have placed the force gems, this will also create some Wizrobes, and they can be defeated by using spin attacks. And they get created as soon as you place the force gems, so I actually waited to place them in the pedestals until I was ready to deal with them. But you can defeat them to get a little extra time, which doesn't really matter too much, because you should have more than enough time for the last couple floors at this point. However, more importantly, once you defeat both of them, this will create a chest off to the left that contains a rare ship part. This particular one for me is worth 800, I believe, but there is a possibility of it being worth more, I think. So I think this could even be worth 1,500, and if so, if it's in that pool, I think there's a chance this could actually be a golden ship part. So just know that this chest is worth getting. Alright, final floor of the Temple of the Ocean King. Now, technically, you could have actually made your way here earlier, and one thing you want to do here is just, it's good to be in the habit, this doesn't actually matter right now, but you can go ahead and open this air geyser off to the left, and then grab this red jar. And what you want to do with the red jar is you want to place a safe zone somewhere down here, and what I like to do is I like to place it kind of over here in the top left, but somewhere over here is good. Now, it doesn't actually matter right now. When we come back here later, the information I just told you is very important. So I'm just showing you all those steps because this is how you survive this room. So if you are here and you're at the end of the game, then that would be how you would do that. Now, Ciela points out that there's a door up ahead that we can't actually go through now, and the nearby stone tablet says that the way forward will open once you have the ability to defeat phantoms. So that will happen there at the end of the game. Now, in the meantime, though, you want to go ahead and open that chest to get the Northeastern Sea Chart. This will finally allow us to access the final portions of the game. But yeah, we finally have access to the Northeast Quadrant, which is awesome. There's so much good stuff there, like, seriously, more good stuff than you can handle. You know what else is awesome and has more good stuff than you can handle? Subscribing to Zelda Dungeon and myself, Caleb Simpson, because both these places have a lot of epic things that you need in your life. I'm glad we had this talk. It's been good. And with that out of the way, we're ready to move on to the next video, so I will see you guys there.